The episode was introduced as a warm, upbeat conversation, with Crystle Stewart walking on to Kelly Clarkson's stage to friendly applause and an atmosphere that promised inspiration rather than conflict. Crystle smiled, waved to the audience, and took her seat, appearing relaxed and confident. From the outside, nothing seemed unusual, yet subtle cues hinted that expectations behind the scenes may not have been fully aligned. According to later speculation, certain discussion points had been loosely agreed upon, while others remained sensitive, creating a fragile balance that would soon be tested under the bright lights of daytime television. The conversation began smoothly, focusing on Crystle's career journey, her evolution from pageant success to acting, and the challenges of staying relevant in a demanding industry. Kelly's tone was friendly and conversational, encouraging openness. Crystle responded thoughtfully, sharing polished answers that reflected experience and media training. Still, viewers noticed brief pauses and careful phrasing, as if she were navigating invisible boundaries. These small moments passed quickly, but they quietly signaled that the interview carried more weight than it initially appeared. As the discussion shifted toward personal growth and public perception, the energy in the room subtly changed. Kelly asked a question framed as empowering, yet it touched on past controversies that Crystle had previously addressed with caution. Crystle's posture stiffened slightly, and her smile softened into a neutral expression. She answered diplomatically, attempting to reframe the topic toward lessons learned rather than reopening old narratives. The audience remained engaged, unaware that the conversation was approaching a sensitive edge. Kelly, aiming to connect with viewers, followed up with a more direct question that some later described as unexpectedly pointed. While not aggressive, it pressed for emotional clarity on an issue Crystle had long preferred to keep private. The studio grew quieter, and Crystle took a noticeable breath before responding. Her words were calm, but the careful cadence suggested discomfort. For viewers watching closely, this felt like a turning point. When the tone shifted from reflective to tense, Crystle emphasized context, explaining how public stories often simplify complex realities. She spoke about the pressure of being constantly defined by moments rather than growth. Her response was measured, yet the emotion beneath it was evident. Kelly nodded, listening attentively, but the weight of the exchange lingered. The usual daytime show warmth seemed momentarily suspended, replaced by an honest but uneasy pause that signaled unresolved tension. In an effort to move forward, Kelly attempted to relate the topic to her own experiences, drawing parallels meant to comfort rather than confront. However, the comparison didn't land as intended. Crystle's expression suggested she felt misunderstood, as if her specific experience was being generalized. She gently corrected the framing, clarifying that not all journeys translate the same way. The correction was polite, but firm enough to catch the audience's attention. The atmosphere continued to shift as the exchange became more layered. Crystle spoke about boundaries and the importance of choosing when and how to revisit certain chapters of life. Her voice remained steady, but the seriousness contrasted sharply with the show's usual tone. The audience, sensing the gravity, responded with quiet attentiveness instead of applause. It was a rare moment where authenticity overshadowed entertainment. Kelly responded with another question, intended to clarify but perceived by some as pressing further. This time, Crystle paused longer, visibly considering whether to continue. The silence felt heavy, stretching just enough to make viewers uneasy. When she spoke, she expressed appreciation for the platform but reiterated that some topics deserved care and timing. Her words were respectful, yet unmistakably defensive. The tension reached a peak when Crystle suggested that certain narratives had followed her unfairly, despite years of personal and professional growth. Her tone carried frustration, not directed at Kelly personally, but at the broader cycle of public scrutiny. The distinction, however, blurred under live conditions. Kelly appeared taken aback, responding carefully, but the momentum of the conversation had already shifted. At this point, the audience sensed something was off script. The usual rhythm of question and answer felt disrupted, replaced by a delicate negotiation of space and respect. Crystle's body language became more closed, signaling emotional fatigue. The exchange was not explosive, but it was undeniably strained, creating an atmosphere that felt increasingly uncomfortable for everyone involved. Crystle then addressed the situation directly, stating that while she valued honest conversation, she also valued protecting her peace. The statement was calm but resolute. She explained that revisiting certain topics without preparation could feel overwhelming. Even years later, the studio remained quiet, absorbing the weight of her words as the reality of the moment settled in. Kelly acknowledged the sentiment, offering reassurance, yet the attempt to smooth things over felt tentative. The energy did not fully recover. Crystle nodded politely, but her gaze drifted briefly toward the stage exit, a subtle cue that didn't go unnoticed by attentive viewers. It was the first visible sign that she might be considering stepping away. After another short exchange, Crystle made a decision that surprised many. She thanked Kelly for the opportunity to speak and expressed gratitude to the audience for listening. Her tone was composed, not confrontational. Then, with quiet determination, she stood up. The movement itself carried meaning, signaling that the conversation had reached its limit. Gasps rippled softly through the studio as Crystle turned toward the exit. Kelly appeared momentarily stunned, offering a brief response that was partly reassurance, partly confusion. There was no shouting, no dramatic gesture, just a calm but firm departure that spoke volumes. The cameras struggled to adjust as the moment unfolded unexpectedly. The show quickly transitioned, attempting to regain composure, but the shift was noticeable. Viewers at home immediately took to social media, sharing clips and interpretations. Some praised Crystle for asserting boundaries, while others questioned whether the situation had been misunderstood. Within minutes, the alleged walk-off became a trending topic, fueled by speculation and emotional reactions. Online discussions dissected every second of the exchange, analyzing tone, wording, and body language. Supporters argued that Crystle's response demonstrated self-respect in a high-pressure environment. Critics countered that daytime television thrives on openness and that difficult questions are part of the format. The debate revealed deep divides in how audiences interpret accountability versus personal limits. Entertainment commentators weighed in, framing the moment as an example of evolving media expectations. They noted that what once passed as harmless probing now often requires greater sensitivity. Crystle's departure, they argued, reflected a broader cultural shift toward prioritizing mental and emotional well-being over performative transparency. Insiders later suggested that no ill intent existed on either side, pointing instead to misaligned expectations. Live television, they explained, leaves little room for recalibration once a sensitive topic surfaces. In such moments, even well-meaning questions can feel intrusive, especially when personal history is involved. Crystle remained largely silent in the immediate aftermath, choosing not to issue detailed statements. Her silence was interpreted by many as intentional, allowing the moment to speak for itself. Fans flooded her social platforms with messages of support, thanking her for modeling boundaries in a public space. Kelly Clarkson's show continued its schedule, with subtle acknowledgments of the unpredictability of live conversations. No direct blame was assigned, and the tone remained respectful. This approach helped cool some of the initial backlash, shifting focus from conflict to reflection. Over time, the alleged incident became less about drama and more about dialogue. Media outlets reframed their coverage, exploring how interviews can unintentionally cross emotional lines. Crystle's calm exit was increasingly described as a statement rather than a scandal. For many viewers, the moment resonated personally. It mirrored everyday situations where people feel pressured to explain themselves beyond comfort. Seeing a public figure choose to step away validated those experiences, turning the clip into something more relatable than sensational. Industry professionals reference the exchange in discussions about interview ethics, emphasizing the importance of clear boundaries and mutual understanding. The moment served as a reminder that consent in conversation is ongoing, not implied by presence alone. As weeks passed, the intensity of reactions faded, but the conversation remained. The clip resurfaced periodically, often cited in debates about respect in media spaces. Its endurance stemmed from its subtlety rather than spectacle. Crystle returned to public appearances with renewed clarity, setting firmer expectations in interviews. Observers noted a calm confidence in how she navigated questions, suggesting that the experience, while uncomfortable, reinforced her sense of agency. The alleged walk-off did not define her career, but it added a layer of authenticity to her public image. She was seen not just as a polished figure, but as someone willing to prioritize emotional well-being over optics. Audiences, too, appeared changed by the moment. Viewers became more attentive to cues of discomfort, less willing to dismiss them as part of the show. The incident subtly shifted how people consumed similar content going forward. In retrospect, the exchange felt like an honest interruption of routine television. It broke the illusion of seamless conversation, revealing the human vulnerability beneath carefully curated formats. Rather than fading into obscurity, the moment found its place as a reference point in pop culture discussions about boundaries. Its power lay in its restraint, proving that quiet decisions can echo loudly. Ultimately, the story of Crystle Stewart allegedly walking off Kelly Clarkson's show became a reminder that dignity sometimes means choosing exit over endurance. In doing so, it transformed a tense moment into an ongoing conversation about respect, empathy, and knowing when enough is enough. In the days following the incident, social media analysis exploded, with fans, commentators, and casual viewers breaking down Crystle's every gesture and word. Every pause, nod, and glance was scrutinized as evidence of the underlying tension. Clips circulated widely, often edited to emphasize her composed exit, which only amplified the public's fascination. It became clear that her decision resonated not just because of the clash itself, but because it reflected a larger conversation about personal boundaries in high-pressure environments. Entertainment journalists began to explore the backstory, speaking with insiders familiar with the episode's planning. Reports suggested that producers had initially outlined a friendly, uplifting conversation, but without clear limitations, sensitive topics naturally emerged. This analysis helped viewers understand that even well-meaning questions could trigger discomfort, especially when they touch on professional or personal controversies. The narrative evolved from walk-off drama to an example of miscommunication and media production. Some critics argued that Crystle's exit was unnecessary, framing it as overreaction, while others defended her decision as an assertive act of self-care. The polarized opinions fueled long threads of debate, where viewers weighed the expectations of celebrities against their rights to emotional boundaries. Ultimately, that discussion became less about the show itself and more about the ethics of questioning and personal agency in the public eye. On talk shows and podcasts, industry insiders used the moment as a teaching example, emphasizing the importance of pre-interview briefings. They suggested hosts should be aware of sensitive topics and guest preferences, and guests should feel empowered to guide conversations. Crystle's walk-off became a case study demonstrating that live television can quickly become unpredictable when mutual understanding is lacking. The audience's reaction was also a point of interest. While some felt shocked or disappointed, many expressed admiration for her composure. Comments across platforms highlighted how witnessing someone assert boundaries respectfully can inspire others to do the same in their personal lives. Crystle's actions created a ripple effect far beyond the studio. In the weeks that followed, the incident continued to trend online, with meme culture and commentary videos interpreting her walk-off. Unlike exaggerated viral moments, these focused on subtlety and empowerment, celebrating her dignity and self-awareness. The sustained attention underscored the public's interest in authenticity over stage drama. Crystle's public silence in the immediate aftermath added to the intrigue. By not issuing dramatic statements, she allowed the moment itself to convey her perspective. This approach contrasted sharply with traditional celebrity responses, which often involve lengthy explanations or clarifications, reinforcing the strength of her actions. Meanwhile, Kelly Clarkson addressed the situation indirectly in interviews and social media posts, emphasizing that live shows can be unpredictable. She avoided assigning blame, expressing respect for her guest's decision while reinforcing the show's commitment to respectful dialogue. This balanced approach helped reduce speculation about hostility or animosity. Cultural commentators analyzed the exchange as part of a broader conversation about women in public spaces asserting themselves. Crystle's calm and dignified exit was cited as an example of self-advocacy, resonating with audiences who had experienced similar pressures in workplaces, schools, or social settings. The moment became symbolic of wider societal changes. The incident prompted discussions about how media platforms frame difficult topics. Critics argued that even well-intentioned questions must consider emotional impact, timing, and context. Crystle's decision highlighted the importance of giving individuals control over narratives about their lives, especially when those narratives involve past challenges or controversies. Entertainment outlets began revisiting her career, reflecting on her resilience and professionalism. From pageants to acting and media appearances, Crystle had navigated public scrutiny for years. The walk-off reinforced her image as someone who can maintain composure while standing firm on personal boundaries. For other celebrities, the event sparked conversations about how to handle uncomfortable moments on live television. Many cited Crystle's exit as inspiration for setting clear limits without creating unnecessary conflict, emphasizing that grace and assertiveness can coexist. Academic discussions also surfaced, exploring the psychology of live interviews and social pressure. Scholars noted that Crystle's choice exemplified agency and emotional intelligence under high-stakes conditions, making the incident a valuable case study in communication and boundary setting. The incident continued to influence public perception of talk shows, encouraging hosts and producers to be more mindful of how questions are posed. Subtle changes in tone, phrasing, and topic selection became more common in subsequent episodes, reflecting lessons learned from the exchange. Ultimately, Crystle Stewart's walk-off transcended the immediate moment of tension. It became a cultural touchpoint, illustrating that asserting personal limits is not only acceptable but commendable. The event demonstrated that dignified exits can carry as much impact as extended dialogue, leaving audiences with a lasting impression of integrity and self-respect. As months passed, the moment of Crystle Stewart walking off Kelly Clarkson's show became a reference in discussions about live television unpredictability. Media analysts cited it when exploring how guest comfort impacts the overall quality of an interview. Rather than being labeled a failure, it was reframed as an example of professionalism under pressure, showing that knowing when to step back is just as important as knowing how to respond. Fans began creating compilations of Crystle's calm exit, highlighting her composure and measured tone. These clips circulated widely across social media, often accompanied by supportive commentary praising her for prioritizing self-respect over on-camera appearances. The incident slowly shifted from controversy to empowerment, resonating with audiences who valued authenticity over spectacle. Behind the scenes, show producers reportedly used the incident as a learning experience. Meetings were held to discuss pre-interview agreements, question framing, and how to handle unexpected tension. The takeaway was clear: even experienced hosts and guests must prepare for live television's emotional unpredictability. Ensuring respect and clarity remain priorities. Kelly Clarkson herself addressed the topic in later interviews, reflecting on the unpredictability of live shows. She noted that unexpected moments often test both hosts and guests but also create memorable television. Her acknowledgement reassured viewers that the show valued its guests' boundaries, even when situations deviated from the script. The incident sparked broader conversations online about personal boundaries in professional settings. Audiences related Crystle's decision to situations outside of entertainment, such as workplaces or public interactions, where people often feel pressured to endure discomfort. Her choice resonated widely as an example of courage and self-advocacy. Social media polls and commentaries debated whether her exit was the right choice, revealing divided opinions. Supporters praised her for standing firm, while critics suggested she could have handled the tension differently. The ongoing debate reflected society's evolving expectations of public figures balancing professionalism with personal boundaries. Psychologists and communication experts weighed in, analyzing how live interviews can trigger stress responses. Crystle's calm demeanor was highlighted as a model for managing pressure while asserting personal limits. Experts emphasized the value of preparation, self-awareness, and knowing when to disengage in high-stakes situations. Entertainment news outlets continued covering the aftermath, tracking both Crystle's career trajectory and Kelly Clarkson's show ratings. While initial headlines focused on the walk-off, later coverage emphasized lessons learned, professionalism, and the impact of respectful dialogue. The narrative shifted from scandal to reflection. The public's fascination with the incident persisted as media commentators compared it to previous celebrity walk-offs. Crystle's exit was notable for its quiet dignity, contrasting with more dramatic or confrontational departures. This comparison helped redefine public expectations of how conflicts on live television could be handled gracefully. Fans shared messages of solidarity across platforms, reinforcing positive interpretations of the event. Many emphasized that respecting one's emotional limits is a sign of strength, and Crystle's example encouraged discussions about self-care and professional respect in high-pressure environments. Subsequent interviews with other celebrities referenced the moment indirectly, praising the concept of setting boundaries without hostility. Crystle's walk-off became a silent benchmark for how to navigate sensitive discussions in public forums without escalating conflict. The incident also prompted entertainment educators to incorporate real-life examples into media training programs. Crystle's experience became a case study for aspiring hosts and public figures, teaching the importance of anticipating sensitive topics and respecting guest autonomy. As more commentary emerged, it became evident that the cultural impact extended beyond television. Crystle's composure, decisiveness, and ability to exit respectfully influenced how audiences consider personal empowerment in their own lives, turning a televised moment into a broader societal discussion. Over time, the event became a permanent reference in pop culture discussions, often cited when analyzing boundaries, respect, and professional etiquette on live shows. The lasting relevance underscored how a single moment, handled with grace, can have enduring influence. Ultimately, the story of Crystle Stewart walking off Kelly Clarkson's show remains a powerful reminder that dignity and self-respect can prevail over pressure, expectation, and public scrutiny. It exemplifies the balance between professionalism and personal boundaries, leaving a lasting impact on audiences, media, and celebrity culture alike.